Students, how are you? I hope that you are all fine and safe. Today we are discussing one of the important topic in 10th class. Already we have learned in your previous chapter reproduction. What is reproduction? The ability of an organism to produce young ones or offspring in a same species is called reproduction. They can produce young ones or offspring in a same species is called as reproduction. You know that in this process, characters were passed from parent to offspring. The characters are passed from parent to offspring. Which process helps characters are transmitted from parent to offspring? Today I will discuss that process. That process is called as heredity. That process is called as heredity. Today our topic heredity. Heredity. What is meant by heredity? Characters or traits. Characters or traits were passed from parent to offspring. Parent to offspring. The characters or traits were passed from parent to offspring. Parent to offspring is called as heredity. Characters or traits both are same? No. What is the difference between character and trait? In every living organisms, from microbes to human man, basically some features are present. Some features are present. These features passed or transmitted from one generation to another generation. Basically, some features are present or exist in every kind of living organisms from microbes to human man. These features came from ancestors. These features came from ancestors. So, features is nothing but a characters. Features is nothing but a characters. But trait. What is trait? The alternative form of a character. The alternative form of a character. The alternative form of a character is called as trait. Is called as trait. Keep it in your mind, my dear students. Difference between character and trait. Character means features. Trait means the alternative form of a character is called as trait. Okay? You know that we are all living organisms and we are all human beings. We are all human beings. Once we can see that, once we can observe that, in human being, what type of characters are present? What type of characters are present in human being? Once see, we are all human being. In human being, basically some characters are present. For example, color of the skin is a character or feature. Color of the hair is a character. Color of the hair is a character or feature. Shape of the nose. Shape of the nose is a character or feature. Height of the body is a character. Height of the body is a character or feature. Earlobes are the characters. Earlobes are the characters. Once we can observe that all these are the different types of characters. Color of the skin, color of the hair, shape of the nose, height of the body, earlobes. These characters are features present in every human being. Every human being. Every human being. Every human being. These characters are present in every human being. For example, color of the skin is a character. Some people's skin color white in color. Some people's skin color black color. Black color skin, white color skin. Some people's skin color white color. Some people's skin color black color. Color of the hair is a character. Some people hair color black. Some people hair color brown. Color of the hair is a character. Black colors hair, brown color hair. Color of the skin is a character. White color skin, black color skin. Height of the body is a character. Some people height tall in height. Some people height short in height. Tall people, short people. Height of the body is a character. Tall height, short height, short height. Earlobe is a character. Earlobe is a character. This is earlobe. Some people earlobes are attached. Attached. Some people earlobes are detached. Attached, detached. This is the earlobe. Some people earlobes are attached. Some people earlobes are detached or free. White and black, black and brown, tall, short, attached, detached. Once we can observe, all these are the traits. All these are the traits. Traits. Already I said what is meant by trait. The alternative form of a character is called as trait. Color of the skin is a character. White color skin is a trait. Black color skin is a trait. Height of the body is a character. Tall height, trait. Short height, trait. So that is the difference between character and trait. The characters or traits were passed from parent to offspring. Parent to offspring is called as heredity. Is called as heredity. The characters or traits were passed from parent to offspring. Parent to offspring is called as heredity. Are you understood, my dear students? Right. The characters or traits were passed from parent to offspring by the process of reproduction. By the process of reproduction. The characters or traits were passed from parent to offspring by the process of reproduction. You know that reproduction consists of two types. Reproduction consists of two types. Reproduction consists of two types. One is sexual reproduction. Another one is asexual reproduction. One is asexual reproduction and another one is sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction. Reproduction consists of two types. One is asexual reproduction and another one is sexual reproduction. By asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction, produced and ones are offspring. By this process, compulsory characters or traits were passed. Okay, right. So trait Trait means the alternative form of a character is called as trait. The traits are always is in the form of a pair of factors. Pair of factors. The traits are always is in the form of a pair of factors. Pair means two. Traits are always is in the form of pair of factors. Factors are also called as alleles. Factors are also called as alleles. Alleles is commonly known as genes. Commonly known as genes. Traits are always is in the form of a pair of factors. What is factor? It is responsible for determining the character or trait. What is factor? It is responsible for determining the character or trait. Is called as factor. Factor is also called as alleles. Alleles is commonly known as genes. Commonly known as genes. What is meant by gene? What is meant by gene? What is meant by gene? You know that gene means a segment of DNA. A segment of DNA. A segment of DNA. What is gene? A segment of DNA. What is the full form of DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Deoxyribonucleic acid. That is the full form of DNA. What is gene? A segment of DNA. What is the full form of DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Where it is present? Inside of the nucleus. Inside of the nucleus. What is the use of DNA? Formation of chromosomes. Formation of chromosomes. What is the use of DNA? Formation of chromosomes. Chromosomes is also called as genetic material. Genetic material. Chromosomes are also called as genetic material. Very important point, my dear students. What is gene? A segment of DNA. What is the full form of DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Where it is located? Inside of the nucleus. What is the use of DNA? Formation of chromosomes. Formation of chromosomes. Chromosomes are also called as genetic material. Okay? Right. Next. Variation. What is variation? My dear students, by the process of reproduction, characters or traits are passed from parent to offspring. Reproduction consists of two types. One is asexual reproduction and another one is sexual reproduction. By the process of asexual reproduction, less variations occurs. Asexual reproduction, less variations occurs. By the process of sexual reproduction, more variations occurs. Keep it in your mind. By the process of asexual reproduction, less variations occurs. By the process of sexual reproduction, more variations occurs. Why? In asexual reproduction involves only one organism. That's why less variations occurs. By the process of sexual reproduction involves two organisms, that is male and female organism. So sexual reproduction, more variations occurs. Asexual reproduction, less variations occurs. What is variation? What is variation? Variation is nothing but a difference. Variation is nothing but a difference. But in biologically, variation means the difference in characters, or very close related group of organisms is called as variation. What is meant by variation? The difference in characters or very close related group of organism is referred as variation. By the process of sexual reproduction, more variations occurs. More variations occurs by the process of sexual reproduction. How? More variations are passed from parent to offspring. Or one generation to another generation. One of the important, my dear students, we can observe heredity. What is meant by heredity? The characters or traits were passed from parent to offspring. Is called as heredity. And the characters or traits were passed from one generation to another generation. From one generation to another generation. The characters or traits were passed from one generation to another generation. Is called as inheritance. Keep it in your mind, my dear students. Heredity, inheritance. What is meant by heredity? The characters or traits were passed from parent to offspring is called heredity. What is meant by inheritance? The characters or traits were passed from one generation to another generation is called as inheritance. By heredity and inheritance, ultimately transmitted characters or traits. But in asexual reproduction, more variations occurs. Why more variations are passed from parent to offspring or one generation to another generation? How more variations are passed from parent to offspring or one generation to another generation? In this question, it is a big question. During 17th and 18th centuries, several scientists made effort for the contribution. How more variations are passed from parent to offspring and one generation to another generation? Several scientists made effort during 17th and 18th century, but there is no scientific evidence, there is no scientific data for this contribution. There is no experimental work for this contribution. After one of the person came forward, in mid 18th century. One of the person came forward. He Gregor Johann Mendel. Gregor Johann Mendel. Mid 18th century, one of the person came forward. Gregor Johann Mendel. He was studying how more variations are passed from parent to offspring and one generation to another generation by the process of sexual reproduction. He was a father of genetics. He was a father of genetics. Who was the father of genetics? Gregor Johann Mendel was a father of genetics. He was a father of genetics. What is meant by genetics? The study of genes. The study of genes. What is gene? Already I said, a segment of DNA. What is the full form of DNA? Deoxyribonucleic acid. Where it is located? Inside of the nucleus. What is the use of DNA? What is the function of DNA? Formation of chromosomes or genetic material. The genetic material or chromosomes are responsible working transmission of characters or traits from parent to offspring and one generation to another generation. Gregor Johann Mendel was a father of genetics. What is meant by genetics? The study of genes. And genetics means it is a branch of biology. This branch of biology dealing with study of heredity and variations. Study of heredity and variations is also known as genetics. Genetics is one of the branch of biology. This branch of biology dealing with the study of heredity and variations is known as genetics. So, Gregor Johann Mendel was a father of genetics. He was conducted several experiments and he was observed different kinds of organisms in nature. And finally, he was studied how variations are passed from parent to offspring and one generation to another generation. Actually, he was a mathematician. He was a mathematician, great mathematician, Mendel. But he was observed different living organisms in the nature and keenly observed different kinds of organisms in the nature. So, he was keenly observed different organisms and examined, and he was conducted several experiments on heredity process and inheritance process. Mendel was a monk. He was a monk. Monk. You know monk? In Telugu, monk means సన్యాసి సాధువులు. మోంక్స్ అంటే సర్వసాధారణంగా మనం సన్యాసులు సాధువులు అంటాం. కంప్లీట్ బిలీవింగ్ ఆఫ్ గాడ్. There is no family relationship, there is no family obligations. Complete believing of God and servicing of God. Monks means. Actually, Mendel was a Christian. Mendel was a Christian. In Christianity, monk means church father. Monk means church father. Bishops, like bishops. In Christianity, monk means church father. Complete servicing of God. Complete believing of God. There is no marriage relationship. There is no family obligations. There is no family relationship. Complete servicing of God and complete believing of God. Christianity, monk means church father or bishops. Monk. Mendel was a monk in monastery garden. Monastery garden. Monastery garden. Monastery is one of the famous church in Australia. Monastery is one of the famous church in Australia. This church, monastery church, was located in one garden. Monastery garden. And he was a monk in monastery garden. You know, garden means the growing of different species of plants. Growing of different species of plants. He observed. He was observing different species of plants in monastery garden. for experimental work. What is the experimental work? How more variations are passed from parent to offspring and one generation to another generation. That's why he was observing different species of plants in a monastery garden. Finally, he was chosen. Finally, he was chosen one plant in monastery garden. One plant in a monastery garden. That is pea plant. He was chosen or selected pea plant in monastery garden for experimental work. He was chosen or selected pea plant for experimental work. Why Mendel chosen or selected pea plant for experimental work? Of course, different species of plants are there in monastery garden, but finally he was chosen or selected pea plant. Why? Because it is an annual plant. Pea plant is an annual plant. Annual means 1 year. The life cycle of this plant is 1 year from sowing of the seed to harvesting. Too much time, so much time for observation. That's why he was chosen. Mendel chosen pea plant. Why? Pea plant is an annual plant. Annual means 1 year. The life cycle of this plant is 1 year from sowing of the seed to harvesting. And pea plant is a bisexual flowering plant. Bisexual. Bi means two. A flower contains both like male and female reproductive parts. The type of flowers are called as bisexual flowers. Pea flower is a bisexual. Easily self-pollination. Pea plant is a well-defined characters. Early hybridization. And easily self-pollination. All these are the reasons why Mendel chosen or selected pea plant for experimental work. Because it is an annual plant. Bisexual flowering plant. Well-defined characters. Early hybridization. Hybridization means the production of new varieties. What is meant by hybridization? The production of new varieties. And easily self-pollination. So all these are the reasons Mendel was chosen or selected pea plant for experimental work. After selection of the plant, Mendel was observing characters of this plant. Okay, my dear students, today this is the topic of heredity. Next class will explain Mendel was observing what type of characters in pea plants, and Mendel was conducted which type of experiments in pea plant, how variations are passed from parent to offspring and one generation to another generation by the process of sexual reproduction. Okay, my dear students, this is one of the important subtopic on heredity chapter. Very important in examination point of view. Keep it in your mind. Next class will explain remaining topic on heredity. Okay, thank you one and all.